मैम आवाज ठीक है, आप कंटिन्यू कीजिए।
हाँ जी सर।
क्लियर है मैम, आप कंटिन्यू कीजिए।
तो स्टूडेंट्स ये क्यों कह रहे हैं कि प्रॉब्लम आ रही है? आवाज आ पा रही है सर मेरी? Okay. In case my voice is clear, you can please let others know that they can join. I'm continuing to teach. Thank you, Anand sir. Okay. So in laboratory experiments, if we are seeing in experimental research, if we are seeing there are laboratory experiments, there are field experiments, and there are quasi experiments. But besides this, there are some non-experimental studies also in social psychology, such as survey, interview, focus group discussion, observation, which also are equally important in the data collection process for the purpose of research. So in surveys, you will often see that there are a list of questions, be it close-ended or open-ended, which are asked by the researcher from the participants. They are for a descriptive purpose and can be used to explore the correlations between characteristics of respondents and their responses. So in the process of survey, the researchers are supposed to decide whether the question should be close-ended, open-ended, or there should be only a fixed response, or it should be a rating scale, or it should be in the form of true and false. All these decisions are to be made by the researchers when they are making the survey questionnaire. Next is interviews and focus groups. So the difference between interview and focus group is, see, in interview, there could be lot of interviewers, like it happens in job, many interviewers and one interviewee, or it could also be one interviewer and one interviewee. But in focus group discussion, there is one facilitator for so many people, at least 4 to 8 people. So the difference between interview and focus group is that, see, the data is collected in both the methods through conversation. But in focus group, there is one topic given, there is a discussion being held, and the facilitator is noting down the points which are coming as a consequence of the discussion by the communication of the group members. Whereas in interviews, there is always a question answer form of communication. There is no such discussion. It is usually more structured. So interviews can be of 3 types: structured, unstructured, and semi-structured. So in unstructured, there is no such pre-planned sequencing of questions made, that which question has to be asked when. That is in structured. Whereas in semi-structured, the interview guide is prepared. Interview guide is what? The list of questions which are prepared beforehand. They are prepared beforehand, but there could be a scope of molding them as per the situation, such as by probing and prompting, by asking some more questions within the theme of the questions. That is a part of semi-structured interview. Then comes observational studies. So in observation, there are 2-3 types of observation: participant, non-participant. In participant observation, the researcher himself is taking part in the process of this data collection. For example, like in sales, in the season of sales in the shop, the salesperson the psychologist is himself dressed like a salesperson and collecting the data by working like a salesperson. He's participating in the situation. Whereas in non-participant observation, the psychologist will sit away and just keep notable. So, for example, in a classroom setup, that how children are behaving, a psychologist might sit at the cornermost seat and just see how the children are behaving. Then comes case studies. Now, case studies cannot be very much generalized because case studies are limited to one person, one organization, one institution. They are to everyone. So case studies cannot be too generalized. They are rather too specific. And they are very much in depth. They take a long time, maybe few months, few years also, to collect the data and understand the case. So case studies aim to investigate a single case in as much in-depth way as possible. And case studies can be done through various other methods like observation, interview, survey. So all other methods can be used in the form of case studies. Otherwise, how will you study the case? To study the case, you need to observe, you need to interview, you need to talk, you need to collect the data in the form of questions and answers. So other methods of data can be collected, can be incorporated in the form of case study method. Then through media. So researchers employ qualitative techniques in collecting data about people's behavior and beliefs, sociological approaches to social psychology, and they have also encouraged the collection of data about certain aspects of society itself. So quantitative media analysis may involve content analysis, such as frequency of occurrence of words, phrases, such as Facebook posts, that how frequently certain Facebook posts is occurring, what are the responses to the Facebook post, like in the comment section, people keep responding. And through thematic analysis, like suppose if we talk about like education for girls, that is a theme. Now, how people are responding to that education for girls, that is about the analysis, that what attitude people hold, what language are they using, how are they expressing themselves about girls' education. All that will be about the thematic analysis. Theme is a topic, and understanding that topic in depth about how people are responding to that topic is about thematic analysis. So to conduct a research, we have to keep certain ethics as a prerequisite in our mind. ऐसे ही नहीं हम कि मन कर गया तो रिसर्च कर लिया, कुछ भी करके हमने रिसर्च कर लिया, ऐसे नहीं होता. It can't be a haphazard process, and we have to consider the ups and downs that we will go through in the process of research. Doing a research, collecting data is not a very smooth journey. It is not a bed of roses. So we have to see what are the ethics in that, such as risk. That if we are collecting data from a participant, how much data is getting exposed about that participant? How much information is getting exposed? And how genuinely are we keeping all that information confidential? That as researchers, we should not leak the information given by the participants to any other resource. Then comes valid consent. We can't impose our decision on the participants that, okay, we want you to participate, so you will have to participate. We will have to take permission from the participants. And in case they are under the age of 18, then rather under the age of 16, then their parents have to give. So we are not supposed to disclose any of the details of the participant in public. So no leaking of information has to happen when we are collecting data. Then comes deception. Deception actually is not ethical, but sometimes what happens is we don't tell the purpose of the research prior to collecting data. We first collect the data and then we tell the purpose, so that the participant doesn't feel deceived. धोखा नहीं होना चाहिए participant के साथ. चाहे आप रिसर्च का पर्पस पहले बताएं या बाद में बताएं, लेकिन बताना जरूरी होता है. रिसर्च का जो ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, रिसर्च का कितना साइंटिफिक मेरिट है, कितना साइंटिफिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, ये सब बताना बहुत जरूरी होता है. Then comes debriefing. Debriefing means to introduce a participant to the way research will take place and what will be his role in the research process. And also what could be the positive or the negative impacts of the research on the participant. So use of deception, like I already said, that it is not that we are allowed to deceive the participants. Yes, sometimes we do, but later on we brief them that yes, we didn't tell you the purpose initially, but now we tell you the purpose. So deception poses ethical problems because it is incompatible with the principle of valid or informed consent. Informed consent में हम पहले से ही permission लेते हैं that yes, the participant is aware of what is going to happen with him, why something will happen, and entire process will be known. But in case of deception, this is not taken care of prior to the research. But like I had said, deceiving participants does raise important ethical issues. There is always a possibility that the knowledge of having been deceived, even if it is only temporary, may have detrimental psychological impact. कि ठीक है आपने बाद में बताया, लेकिन तब तक काम हो चुका है, उस काम का असर वो नहीं पड़ेगा जो पड़ना चाहिए था, which causes a lot of stress in the form of discomfort to the participant. मान लीजिए आप ईईजी कर रहे हैं पार्टिसिपेंट पे, उसके अलग अलग करने के लिए, लेकिन पार्टिसिपेंट को कि ईईजी किया जाएगा, उस पे उसके इलेक्ट्रोड्स लगाए जाएंगे या किस एनवायरनमेंट में उसको रखा जाएगा. If you will not tell all this prior, the participant might get scared and that will permanently damage the effect of research. So we will have to consider these sensitive issues prior. Then comes that participants should be provided with as much information about the study as is feasible, given in the nature of research questions being addressed prior to taking part. तो जितना पार्टिसिपेंट के लायक का इंफॉर्मेशन है, हमें वो पार्टिसिपेंट्स को हमेशा बताना पड़ेगा. So this was about the first chapter. Is there any query from the first chapter? You can type out your queries. I will clarify. Sixteen and below, Divya, 16, under the age of 16. Anyone else who has any queries? Dear, for practical, you don't have to prepare any practical file, and nor will there be any physical examination. प्रैक्टिकल का आप एमसीक्यूज अटेम्प्ट करेंगे जैसे आप इंटरनल असेसमेंट में कर रहे हैं, जैसे आपका फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर का प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम हुआ था ऐसे ही सेकंड का होगा. Ma'am, in laboratory experiments, independent variable is manipulated and no actually it's vice versa. In quasi, there is less of manipulation, and in field experiment, there is no possibility of any manipulation because of the level of controllability by the experimenter's end. एक्सपेरिमेंटर के हाथ में कुछ कंट्रोल में नहीं होता है जब वो फील्ड में होता है. अगर किसी को नहीं करना पार्टिसिपेट, उसको पकड़ के नहीं ला सकता एक एक्सपेरिमेंटर. Yes, Divya, you had this group effect and memory. That was in first semester. इस सेमेस्टर का आपके पीसीपी सेक्शन, पीसीपी क्लासेस के दौरान साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट करवाए गए थे लगता है. एएसजी का कोई टेस्ट था लगता है, तो एग्रेशन के रिलेटेड या कुछ और था. तो that you have to prepare the internal assessment. कंडक्शन तो है ही नहीं. You get actually see uh, uh, okay, fine. I've rejoined. So second unit is about interpersonal processes. So I will just share my screen. तो interpersonal processes होता क्या है? It is about how we are communicating with each other. हमारी कैसे social relations है एक दूसरे की तरफ, be it between two people or it's among one and many, like in public places, like at workplaces, or even among your family members, between you and your sibling or between you and your parents. So interpersonal processes, they are very dynamic. They keep changing and they can either hinder with the social functioning of the person or can even improve the social functioning of the person. अगर किसी के साथ आपके interpersonal relations बहुत bitter है, बहुत stressful है, it will certainly lead to stress within you as well. But if it's someone who have very good interpersonal relations, that will be very pleasant for you as well as others. That will be de-stressing instead of distressing. So in the form of helping behavior or support that is provided to a person in the form of, or it can be in the form of conflicts. So either the interpersonal relations will be very good in which you are giving help and receiving help, or it can also be very unpleasant in the form of conflicts. So pro-social behavior. Pro means in favor of and social means society. When you are showing any behavior that is in favor of the society, that is your pro-social behavior. So there are three types of further pro-social behavior, and let us see the different ones. First is helping, then is pro-social, and finally there is altruism. Helping behavior may the actions are performed with the intention of improving the situation of person in need. So for example, if a waitress has helped a customer and the customer's problem is solved, that will be a helping behavior. कि किसी ने किसी की help करी और उससे उसका problem solve हो गया. But pro-social behavior में a person in need and it may not necessarily provide any direct benefit to the helper. So pro-social behavior में जरूरी नहीं है कि helper को help करने के वजह से कोई benefit मिले, लेकिन जो help receive कर रहा है उसको जरूर benefit मिलेगा. And in pro-social behavior, there will certainly be some risk for the helper. So for example, you see a road accident, a person is badly injured, and you are arranging for emergency service of hospital or an ambulance. That will make you take some pain. That effort will be required to arrange for medical emergency, to arrange for an ambulance, to take him to the hospital. And that will be a pro-social behavior. So there will be some risk for the helper. And there may not always be a benefit to the helper in lieu. So pro-social behavior is certainly valued by the society. Then comes altruism. You all must be knowing Mother Teresa. The way she had helped the needy children, the needy people. She didn't get anything in lieu. She didn't have any greed. कि अच्छा अगर मैं help करूंगी मेरा नाम हो जाएगा. That greed will never make a behavior pro-social or altruistic. So in altruism, it is a type of pro-social behavior which ultimately benefits a person in need, but there is no expectation. Mother Teresa को Nobel Peace Prize का कोई expectation नहीं था. Mother Teresa didn't have any greed that okay, if she'll help people, she'll come into the media, she'll get some money or she'll get some reward. There was no such intention from her end. She just benefited people directly or indirectly by helping them. So there is a lot of selflessness when we are talking about altruism. So let us now see some of the theories of pro-social behavior. One is a kin selection theory. In this, we end up helping people whom we know or they are having some blood relations with us. Suppose if our parents are not well, we will not leave them ignored in isolation. We will certainly, like an emergency, help them, be it a small level of help or a bigger level of help, but we will not be ignoring them. Why? Because our parents are important for us. That relationship matters to us. So when we know someone, be it genetically, biologically, or even through other relationships like friendship or spouses or anyone else who is in family or known, we first give help to them as compared to a person who is unknown. Then comes empathy altruism hypothesis. So according to this theory, an individual's empathy is aroused when they observe someone in an emergency. Empathy means when you can put yourself in someone else's situation and feel for that person. आप अपने आप को किसी और के सिचुएशन में डालें और उसकी मुश्किलों को अपनी मुश्किलों की तरह समझ के काम करें. That is empathy. So, according to this theory, an individual's empathy is aroused when they observe someone in an emergency. Emergency में कुछ भी acceptable होता है. किसी का ultimately हम नुकसान नहीं देख सकते इतना ज्यादा कि वो irrecoverable losses हों. So they respond to the situation by providing help because the victim requires it and also because the helper feels good to provide help. So victim also needs help and helper also does not mind by providing help to that person. In this way, we end up feeling for the victim and we end up helping them. Then comes negative state relief model, which means that when we are helping someone, we end up feeling better. अगर हम किसी बहुत ही बेकार मूड में हैं, गुस्से में हैं, स्ट्रेस्ड हैं, परेशान हैं, लेकिन इमरजेंसी में हमने किसी की हेल्प कर दी, चाहे छोटी सी हेल्प करी हो, very minuscule value of that help is, but we will still feel better that we are at least useful to someone, at least we did something good to someone. That is about negative state relief model, and we feel happier after we have helped the person. Then comes empathic joy hypothesis. So according to this theoretical perspective, an individual's pro-social behavior is motivated by the joy or the positive affect. So we end up helping someone because we also feel good after we have helped. We have that joyous feeling that yes, we have done something good for ourselves and for others. So now let us see the factors which affect the pro-social behavior. So factors could be internal as well as external, which play a very important role in determining the pro-social behavior. So factors like kinship. Kinship means family. So people who are your family members will certainly be given priority over those people whom you don't know, or even friends or anyone known can be given priority over those people who are strangers to you. Then comes reciprocal altruism. You give help so that you can later get help. If you are helping someone, that is because you know that later even that person can give his help to you in return. So if you are helping someone currently, in future, you are expecting help from that person. Then comes similarity. So people who are similar to you, be it the same race, gender, religion, culture, organization, or in proximity or neighborhood, more the similarity will be, easier it will be for you to accept them and further help them. Even if you don't know them personally, but since you know that yes, they are similar to you, you will help them. Then comes gender. So it is research which has affirmed that women are more helping nature than men. And women are more long-term committed as far as giving help is concerned. They can give long-term care, such as you will see in most of the hospitals, nurse is a lady and not a gentleman. या फिर you see about japa maids, you see about caretakers. Such helping professions are full of women. ये सारे pink collar jobs में ही आते हैं. Why? Because women are more, women have more of tendency to be sensitive, to help more as compared to men. It's not that men don't help at all, but the way they help is very different from the way women help. Women give a more of long-term help, long-term care. Then comes attractiveness. Victim who is more attractive, such as suppose in a road accident, you see a rich brat young boy who has met with a car accident. His BMW is damaged, it's into pieces, and that rich boy is terribly in blood, as compared to a beggar who is on the roadside. Certainly, you will get more attracted to a rich boy as compared to a poor beggar. So, those victims who are physically attractive or a very good looking person who is requiring help, be it a lady or a gentleman, whichever is a good one, is receiving help more easily as compared to the victim who is not so attractive. Then comes the age. So people who are vulnerable, they are receiving more help than people who are less vulnerable. So in the category of vulnerability, children, very small children like infants, toddlers, or those who can't handle themselves in the situation, or very old senior citizens, super senior citizens, 80s, 90s, 70s, who find it very difficult to handle themselves. Such people of the age group, age bracket people, they receive more help as compared to young people who can take care of themselves. My age or your age people can certainly easily take care of ourselves as compared to a child who doesn't know how to sit, who doesn't know what is clean, what is dirty, who doesn't know how to convey when he or she is hungry, or a very old person who can't stand independently, who is bedridden, who needs constant support. Such people require more help and they actually receive more help than people who are independent. Then emotions and mood. So certainly when we are helping others, it gives a more of positive emotion within us. So if we are in a bad mood, but we help someone, then also it elicits a lot of positive emotion. And if we are quite in a normal good mood, but still if we have helped someone, that will certainly increase the level of positive emotions within us. Then comes the bystander effect. So the bystander intervention model is a 5-stage model proposed by Daly and Latin, who explains which explains the reasons as to why a bystander decides to provide help or not. So let us just see this figure once. First is attending to it. Next step. So there are 5 stages. So the next stage is interpreting the situation. Third stage is assuming responsibility. Fourth is assessing the ability to take an action. And the 5th stage is deciding whether to act. Let us just see these stages in a little bit of detail. So in stage 1, which is attending to a situation, a person who witnesses an emergency may either notice that something unusual is happening or may fail to notice the situation. So if a person fails to attend to the unusual happening or emergency situation due to other stimuli that she or he are preoccupied with, no further processing of emergency situation will take place. So a person can help others only when he is having the time to help. ये नहीं है कि अपनी इमरजेंसी को छोड़ के दूसरे की इमरजेंसी में वो हेल्प करेगा. So if a person fails to attend to the unusual happening, suppose like if in the road accident, someone is just passing by, but he saw the crowd, he saw the accident happening, and thinking that there are so many more people to help, I will not even glance at this situation, I just pass by. In that case, since the person didn't give priority to the accident or to the crowd, he will not be able to help. Because he didn't attend to the situation, he did not understand the situation, so certainly he will not be able to help also. So if a person fails to attend to the unusual happening or emergency situation due to their stimuli that he or she are preoccupied with, then no further processing of the emergency situation will take place. However, if the person recognizes that there is something demanding their attention, will make attempts to understand the situation better. Now, it depends that if the person is giving priority to the situation and he is seeing that, yes, the situation is very demanding, I cannot ignore the situation, then certainly he can give a helping hand. This was about the first stage, which is attending to the situation. Only if the situation is attended to, the person can help. If he is not even looking at the situation, certainly he cannot be helpful. Then comes interpreting. Attending is not enough. You have to even understand. कि ठीक है, एक सिचुएशन पे मैंने जरा सा गौर फरमाया, लेकिन वो सिचुएशन है किस लिए, कहां से आई, क्यों आई, मुझे समझना है ये. Till I will not understand the situation, till I will not interpret the situation, how will I give my helping hand? जब तक मुझे किसी की तकलीफ समझ में नहीं आएगी, मैं मदद कैसे करूंगा? So an individual looks for cues to get complete understanding about the situation and accordingly interprets it either to be an emergency or a usual situation. So it depends even upon the help the helper, whether as per the helper, this is an emergency or not. If it is an emergency as per the helper, certainly he will try his best to give his helping hand. But he also needs to comprehend that as per him it is emergency or not. So people tend to look for cues in order to understand the situation fully before reacting to it. So people don't just want that their help should not be acknowledged and it should go in vain to others. They want that if they are helping, it should be worth the person. So that is why they want to fully understand the situation first, and then they want to react to it. Moreover, they have a fear of overreacting in a situation. They are having a fear of misinterpreting the situation. कि ऐसा तो नहीं है कि मैं ही ज्यादा मदद करना चाहता हूं जबकि किसी को जरूरत ही नहीं है मेरे मदद की. So interpreting the situation is a must before we give a helping hand. Then comes assuming of responsibility. That if someone is in an emergency, who is ready to take the responsibility of that victim who is in an emergency? इतनी सारी भीड़ खड़ी होती है एक्सीडेंट में, पर कोई responsibility नहीं लेना चाहता. They don't want to be blamed later. They don't want to be tagged with anything later. So we have to see that who is ready to take the responsibility in that emergency. So once the individual has interpreted the situation is an emergency situation warranting an action, he or she decides on whether it is their responsibility to provide help or not. Moreover, they need to even understand whether they can handle the situation or not. Suppose if someone has met with an accident, does a person know if someone wants to help? Does that person who wants to help know how to give a first aid in that emergency? How to help the victim overcome the serious injuries? If he wants to help but does not know how to help, then also he will not be able to help. So the individual tends to assume responsibility for providing help. If there are more bystanders, the responsibility diffuses. Bystanders means people around you in that emergency situation. If you are alone, certainly you will help because you have no other option. But if there are more people around you, that will lead to social loafing. कि अगर मेरे साथ 5-6 और लोग खड़े हैं तो हम सब में से कौन हेल्प करेगा? कोई करेगा या नहीं करेगा? Everyone just throws the responsibility on each other, which is called diffusion of responsibility. And the individual may decide not to take the charge of the situation. Because one may feel that, okay, if there are more people to take the decision, to take the charge of the situation, then why should I? Then comes assessing the ability to take action. So one can proceed to provide necessary help only if she has necessary knowledge or skills required to respond to that emergency situation. So if you want to help, you must know how to help in that situation, be it an accident or any other emergency like a breaking of car, that car broke down, there is an accident or there is a fire. How will you help? What all skills you have within you to help others? In an accident, do you know how to give a first aid? In case of emergency of fire, do you know how to extinguish fire? In case of any other injury, do you know how to which medicine to give, how to give an injection or any other situation. So we need to have the skill within us to help others. And that skill is not just a helping skill. We should know what to do in that emergency situation. So in case there is a specific medical emergency situation and medical help is required, we need to know that either we should be able to provide help or we need to know whom can we arrange to provide help. हम एम्बुलेंस कहाँ से बुलाएं, क्या नंबर डायल करें, किस डॉक्टर को बुलाएं, हमें या तो ये आना चाहिए या हमें अपने आप हेल्प करनी आनी चाहिए. So deciding whether to act, this is a major situation, the last stage and the most deciding stage. After considering everything, that who will help, whether I have the skill to help or not, even after I have attended to the situation, the main thing is whether I want to help or not. Everyone does not have that diamond heart. Everyone is not so sensitive. There are some people who decide on so much, they are so fickle-minded, they're only left at the planning stage or the deciding stage, and they're not actually able to execute anything. So after seeing and after weighing all the pros and cons of any situation in which your help is needed, your major decision is whether to proceed for helping someone or not. That is called as cognitive algebra. All the calculations which you are doing for deciding, that is called cognitive algebra. And moreover, you are also seeing that will it benefit you or not. ऐसा ना हो आप किसी की मदद करें और आपके साथ और नुकसान हो जाए. The blame comes on you, the risk comes on you. So you have to calculate all this and then only proceed to help. So this decision taken by weighing the pros and cons of helping, cognitive algebra is the term used wherein individual weighs the positive and the negative consequences of helping. Then comes aggression. So, see, till now, we were seeing all the pro-social part of the behavior. Am I very clearly audible and visible to everyone? Please confirm. Okay, so till now we have covered about introduction to psychology, the brief history of social psychology, and all the branches which are related to psychology, be it within psychology or outside psychology, and the various research methods which are involved, which we need to include when we are doing research in social psychology, the various ethics which are required to be taken care of when we are doing research in social psychology. So all these were the topics from Unit 1. In Unit 2, till now we have understood about what is altruism, what is helping behavior, what is pro-social behavior, what are the theories of pro-social behavior, and why people show pro-social behavior, what are the risks which they will be inviting for themselves when they are showing any pro-social behavior. So all this makes to almost 1.5 units of yours. And the next part is aggression. Who can tell me what they understand aggression as? Aggression क्या होता है? Yes, aggression is anger, लेकिन उसमें क्या होता है? Frustration, वो तो aggression के साथ साथ ही हो जाता है. So either aggression leads to frustration or even frustration leads to aggression. Yes, conflict भी आता है. So now we will be understanding what is aggression. We show anger or frustration about something by our actions. Yes, intentional harm to others. Yes. Aggression में depression. ऐसे कैसे? चलिए अभी हम एग्रेशन के बारे में थोड़ा डिटेल में देखते हैं. So the term aggression refers to intentional harm, कि हम जानते हुए लोगों का नुकसान करते हैं. Subjected to a person who is motivated to avoid such treatment, हम जानते हुए लोगों का नुकसान कर रहे हैं और जिसका हम नुकसान कर रहे हैं वो नहीं चाहता उसका नुकसान हो, वो तो सिर्फ एक विक्टिम बन के रह गया. वो कभी अपना नुकसान नहीं चाह रहा था लेकिन हमने फिर भी उसके साथ बुरा किया. That is aggression. We had the intention to harm someone. Someone didn't feel motivated to be harmed. So the harm could be direct or indirect. Direct मतलब गए अच्छा मारपीट करके उसके ऊपर आ गए. एंड इनडायरेक्ट कि ठीक है मारपीट नहीं किया लेकिन किसी और तरह से नुकसान पहुंचा दिया. You didn't get violent, but in some or the other way you ensured that the person goes through some loss or harm. So aggression can be measured in various forms such as punching of inflated bobo doll. इतना गुस्सा आ रहा है कि bobo doll को फाड़ दिया. You have punched that you have punched that inflated bobo doll. Delivering electric shock by pushing button in the laboratory setting. You are trying to give electric shock to another person. Written self-reports regarding prior use of aggression. Willingness to use violence expressed verbally in an experimental laboratory setting, that you're using all abusive language. You are all that is called verbal violence. And teachers and peers rating of child's level of aggressiveness using paper pencil tests. So next is theoretical perspectives on aggression. मतलब जो aggression है उसके हम अलग अलग तरह से समझ रहे हैं. थ्योरीज उसकी अलग अलग तरह से समझ रहे हैं. वन ऑफ देम इज बायोलॉजिकल थ्योरीज. आपको पता है थैनाटॉस क्या है? Does everyone know? Let me know through the message box. पेपर पेंसिल टेस्ट. ओके, व्हाट इज पेपर पेंसिल टेस्ट? जो नॉर्मल हम टेस्ट देते हैं, कोई भी साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट, आप एमसीक्यूज भरते हैं या रेटिंग स्केल्स भरते हैं, दोज आर ऑल पेपर पेंसिल टेस्ट. यहाँ तक कि जो आपके एग्जाम्स हैं ये भी पेपर पेंसिल टेस्ट ही है. Yes, I was asking what is Thanatos? Does anyone know? Thanatos is self-destruction, it's natural instincts in humans. But tell me one thing, is Thanatos only for self or even for others? Yes, it's given by Sigmund Freud. Eros as well as Thanatos. But is Thanatos only for your self-harm or it can be harm on others as well? हाँ, it's for others as well. तो जब भी हम एक एंटी सोशल, एक हार्मफुल बिहेवियर दिखाते हैं, चाहे अपने तरफ हो चाहे दूसरों की तरफ हो, दैट इज कॉल्ड थैनाटॉस इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ psychodynamic approach given by Sigmund Freud. So, let us go through some of the biological theories for understanding aggression. These theories focus on aggression as an inherited trait in human beings. मतलब हमारे अंदर जो aggression है वो पैदाइशी है, हमने सिर्फ सीखा नहीं है ये. Certainly environment teaches us the behavior, but that inborn tendency, जैसे कि एक हेल्पिंग बिहेवियर की होती है कि इमरजेंसी में हमने किसी से पूछा नहीं कि इसकी मैं मदद करूं या ना करूं, मदद कर दी. उसी तरह से अग्रेशन भी हम किसी से पूछ के नहीं दिखाते हैं, दिखा देते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ समवन वांट्स टू ट्राई टू हार्म अस, इवन फॉर आवर सेल्फ डिफेंस वी विल हिट हिम और हार्म हिम बैक, कि तुमने मुझे नुकसान क्यों पहुंचाया इसीलिए मैं तुम्हें पहुंचा रहा हूं. दैट इज मोर ऑफ एन इनेट टेंडेंसी कि आप अपने बचाव के लिए भी कई बार एग्रेशन दिखाते हैं. दैट इज फॉर योर सेल्फ डिफेंस ऑल्सो, which is a part of innate tendency. एक तो intentional harm है, that is because of your psyche. You have thought to harm someone, so you have harmed someone. But on the other end, there is an innate tendency in which you are showing aggression only for your own protection, for your own survival. So these theories focus on aggression as an inherited trait in human beings. Sigmund Freud introduced the concept of thanatos, and it focused on self-destruction and was later directed towards others. So, thanatos में you are destructing others as well as yourself. And he considered aggression to be a natural instinct in humans. Means it is not taught. It is very much there in them and they are born with it. It is inborn. So Lawrence believed aggression to be a fighting instinct that is inherited so that the strongest males can get their mates and pass on their genes to the next generation. So you must have seen, let me just quote you. You must have seen in animals, such as wild animals like lion, deer, or anyone else as well. Often, males will end up having a good level of fight, physical harm, इतना कि एक क्या पता दूसरे को मार भी दे या फिर हराने की कोशिश करे किसी झगड़े में. And once one of the males wins or conquers the other, he is preferred by the female for the purpose of procreation. Why? Because it is understood that sometimes females feel that if a male is strong enough to win over the other males, then his genes will be very good. His genes will be very good, and the same genes will be passed on to my children, to the next generation. She also wants the best of the genes. That is why stronger males are required by the females. Not just required, they are preferred. They are preferred by the females. But on the other hand, if we see, it has some demerits as well. A male who is all the time so aggressive will not be liked by the female, or else But why? Why he will not be liked by the female? Because the female might think that if the male is so aggressive, then he will be harming me as the partner, and he will be harming the children also in future. So it has both the perspectives to be understood. Let me just share my screen and explain it further. So the fighting instinct that is inherited so that the strongest males can get their mates and pass on their genes to the next generation. These theories have been criticized owing to the reason that stronger males aggressing against other males in order to attain a female mate will also be rejected by the females, as they would be considered dangerous for themselves and their offsprings. So yes, if the males are too aggressive, then also they are not liked by the females because of the high levels of aggression. And females certainly don't want to be the victim of so much of aggression, and nor they want that their children should be harmed in future. Next is drive theories. So humans engage in aggressive behavior as a result of externally motivated drive to harm others. Drive means that push, that motivation. You are motivated to harm the other person. And that motivation can be intrinsically coming or even extrinsically coming to harm the others. So Dollard and Miller in the year 1939 had formed the frustration aggression hypothesis. And in this hypothesis, it was understood that either frustration can lead to aggression, or it can be vice versa. That frustration can be the cause of aggression, or aggression can lead to frustration. So it states that when something prevents us from attaining our goal, see, frustration क्यों आता है? Frustration आता है because something is blocking or stopping us from achieving our aims or our goals. हम करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन है जो हमें कुछ करने से रोक रही है. उसी रुकावट के वजह से हमें फ्रस्ट्रेशन फील होता है. And that frustration can start showing up in various domains of our life. उस फ्रस्ट्रेशन की वजह से हमारा एंगर लेवल बढ़ सकता है, हमारा अग्रेशन बढ़ सकता है. So it states that when something prevents us from attaining our goal, it results in frustration. हम आगे बढ़ना चाह रहे हैं लेकिन कोई चीज हमें रोक रही है, पीछे खींच रही है, उससे वो फ्रस्ट्रेशन है, which arouses a drive to harm a person or object. Then we get vindictive कि अच्छा किसी के वजह से हमारा काम रुक रहा है, उस पे हम अपना एग्रेशन दिखाते हैं. This way, frustration and aggression are linked to each other. So let us see how the diagram is explaining it. First is external conditions. कि environment में हमें ऐसा क्या मिल रहा है जिससे हमारा frustration है. जब frustration आ रहा है किसी environmental factor की वजह से, हम किसी को harm करने के लिए motivate हो रहे हैं. Because we are feeling harmed, because we are feeling troubled, we also have the intention and the motivation or the drive to harm or frustrate the other person from whom we are receiving, which becomes a very, very overt aggression. Overt means something which is visible, something which is observable. So this becomes like a chain or the drive, and it explains how the drive theory of aggression works. So next is social learning perspective. So aggression is not an innate human response. Rather, see, according to the biological theory, it was an innate learning response. Remember which theory you are looking into. First theory was the biological theory. According to this, we have inherited aggression. But according to the social learning perspective, it is not always an innate response. It is also learned. If we see about the Bobo doll experiment conducted by Albert Bandura, that experiment proves that we are observing and imitating others and then learning a certain behavior. In that experiment, children are imitating someone who is showing aggression. जिसका एग्रेशन देखा बच्चों ने उस बोबो डॉल पे, उसी को कॉपी किया बच्चों ने. जिसका एग्रेशन नहीं देखा, जिसका प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर देखा बोबो डॉल की तरह, उसी का प्रो सोशल बिहेवियर कॉपी किया था बच्चों ने. So we do have this innate tendency, but more than that, we are learning this behavior from others. Innate one is only till our survival. The intentional harm is about learning it from the others. So human beings acquire such behavior just like other social behaviors as a result of direct experience or vicarious experiences. Do you know what is vicarious? Does anyone know this term? Who can explain this term vicarious? Yes? Vicarious actually means when we are able to imagine. जब हम सोचते हैं या past and present behavior lead to aggression. As of now, I'm talking about vicarious, and vicarious means when we are able to imagine. Vicarious learning. हम थोड़ा विजुअलाइज करके इमेजिन करके किसी सिचुएशन को तब हम सीखते हैं. सो एग्रेशन में ये वाइकेरियस लर्निंग आता है. We might just visualize that, okay, yes, we are hitting someone hard, we are getting so much of happiness out of hitting someone, and you never know, we might just one day end up doing it. So what we are thinking, what we are visualizing, that also is influencing our aggression. So rather humans acquire such behavior just like other social behaviors as a result of direct experience or vicarious experience. They emphasize upon the role of past experiences, culture one lives in, and reward attached to the past. So suppose if we are seeing that yes, we are showing aggressive behavior and we are being appreciated for it, we are being rewarded for it. क्या कभी किसी ने कहा है कि शाबाश तूने अच्छा किया थप्पड़ मारा? अगर ऐसे किसी के साथ होता है वो तो एग्रेशन सीखेगा ही सीखेगा. या अगर आपने किसी को मारा और कोई आपके ऊपर हंस रहा है, as if you are feeling appreciated, that yes, someone smiled at me means this behavior is appreciated, it is acceptable. So if we are from our past experiences seeing that people are appreciating or even accepting this behavior, then certainly this behavior will be sustaining within us. It will get maintained, it will sustain, and we will continue to show an aggressive behavior. comes general aggression model. So it was given by Anderson and Bushman in the year 2002. And according to this model, aggression is the result of various situational and personal factors. देखिए कई बार हमारे टेम्परामेंट में प्रॉब्लम्स आ जाती है. वी हैव टेम्पर टैंट्रम्स विच इज वेरी मच पर्सनल. कई ऐसे भी सिचुएशंस में लोग होते हैं कि बहुत अनप्लेजेंट सिचुएशन है लेकिन वो एग्रेशन नहीं दिखा रहे. कई ऐसे भी लोग हैं कि सिचुएशन इतनी ज्यादा इंटेंस और अनप्लेजेंट नहीं है लेकिन उनका टेम्परामेंट इतना शॉर्ट है, इतना टॉरिड टेम्परामेंट है कि वो फटाफट से गुस्सा आ जाता है, उनको एग्रेशन दिखा देते हैं. So certainly when we are understanding aggression, we have to see what are the situational factors as well as the personal factors which have led to this behavior. And these are the input variables. Input मतलब इन वजह से हमारा aggression दिख रहा है. ये variables, ये situation variables हैं, personal variables हैं, इसीलिए हमारा aggression भी दिख रहा है. So they impact internal states such as our thought, our emotions, and our getting stressed or aroused. And they are based on how the situation and restraining factors are interpreted. Individuals decide whether to act aggressively and in what manner. So sometimes these situational and personal factors help us decide that whether we should be acting aggressively or not. बिना एग्रेशन दिखाए हम टैकल कर पाएंगे इस प्रॉब्लम को, या हमारा एग्रेशन दिखाना जरूरी है कि बिना एग्रेशन दिखाए तो लोग मानेंगे ही नहीं, इसलिए मेरा गुस्सा होना बहुत जरूरी है. These factors help us decide whether we should be showing aggression or not. So the leftover topics we will be continuing tomorrow, and your tomorrow's class will start at 1 p.m. It will be from 1 to 3 p.m. Okay? So everyone, please join this platform at 1 p.m. for the leftover revision. Yes, Divya, you can please ask your queries. Thank you, Ravi. Can vicarious have example like imagining beating a person? Yes, it can. Why not? That visualization itself will provoke you and incite you. Anyone, any queries from the first unit? If at all you have, please come up with your queries even right now. Or if you still want to think about your queries, you can certainly ask me in your tomorrow's session as well. And I'll try that I'm able to show you some questions which can be important for you. Everyday setting is field experiment or lab experiment. Everyday setting is going to be a field experiment, Dheeraj. It can't be a lab experiment because lab experiment means you all the time have to work in the laboratory setup. If you feel that you can all the time work in a laboratory setup, then every day can be a lab setup. If you think it's possible. Can you briefly explain the field takes shape or voice was? Okay, so actually in the field experiment, the experimenter has very less level of controllability. अब ना उसके पास प्रॉपर apparatus है, ना उसके पास एक लैब है, उसके पास सिर्फ पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं. अब पार्टिसिपेंट्स भी एक कंट्रोल्ड रूम में तो है नहीं कि जैसे लैब में रहते हैं, उनको बार बार पकड़ना पड़ेगा, उनको आप ज्यादा कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. अगर आप किसी पार्टिसिपेंट के घर में जाके कोई एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं, तो अपने घर में तो अपने तरह से ही रहेगा, अपने घर में अपनी मनमानी ही करेगा. वो रूल्स, वो एक डेकोरम जो एक्सपेरिमेंटल सेटअप में होना चाहिए, वो नहीं कर पाएगा. तो इसीलिए फील्ड एक्सपेरिमेंट में जो लेवल ऑफ कंट्रोलेबिलिटी है वो बहुत कम है एक लैब एक्सपेरिमेंट के कंपैरिजन में. कैन यू प्लीज एक्सप्लेन ब्रीफली द फील्ड टेक्स शेप? ये तो मैंने अभी समझाया था. द ओरिजिन पार्ट, प्लीज योर दिव्या, आई कांट अंडरस्टैंड योर क्वेरी. Field takes shape. Let me just see from unit 1. Otherwise, you can always, ask your these queries even tomorrow. I will certainly cater to your queries in tomorrow's class also, so that they are better, in a better way they are kept in front of me. Let me just open chapter 1. Divya, just ask your query again. I need to be more clear. I'll just share my screen. Okay, so this is unit 1, Divya. Can you please ask your query from which topic are you saying? Field experiment takes place outside the laboratory in everyday setting. Yes, everyday setting doesn't mean you everyday need to go for a field experiment. Everyday setting means a normal environment setup in which people are living, in which people are doing their everyday tasks. Because in laboratory setup, the situation is very much made up. It is very much controlled. But in field, it is not made up. जैसे आप काम कर रहे हैं, जैसे आप अपनी जिंदगी जी रहे हैं, वैसे ही जीते रहेंगे, वैसे ही काम करते रहेंगे. ये है कि एक्सपेरिमेंटर आप पे उसी माहौल में एक्सपेरिमेंट करेगा. आप एक्सपेरिमेंटर के लैब में नहीं जाएंगे, एक्सपेरिमेंटर आपके सेटअप में आके एक्सपेरिमेंट कंडक्ट करता है. That is why it's mentioned. So we have to be aware that the participants are participating in field experiment may act more naturally because they don't have the pressure to perform. उनको पता है वो लैब में नहीं है, वो आराम से एक नॉर्मल एनवायरनमेंट में है जिसमें वो वैसे भी रहते हैं. तो एक प्रेशर उन पे परफॉर्म करने का नहीं होता है. So they conduct themselves very naturally as compared to laboratory experiments and the independent variable is manipulated. तो असल में लेबोरेटरी एक्सपेरिमेंट में किसी भी इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल का मैनिपुलेट करना बहुत आसान रहता है, पर फील्ड एक्सपेरिमेंट में वो आसान नहीं रहता. यस दिव्या, I'll just read your query. Page 6. Okay, let me just see page 6. This is page 6. Tell me where. The field takes the shape. Oh, okay. Actually, this is about the history part of social psychology. We are just trying to understand that how social psychology has eventually developed. And it had started developing from the era of the Second World War. And actually the origin of psychology is in US, but social psychology had started developing more in UK during and after the Second World War. And then we majorly had divided social psychology into two major chunks or categories. and that is psychological social psychology and the sociological social psychology. So in psychological social psychology, we are primarily understanding what is the individual's level of social behavior. अगर मैं अपना social behavior देखूं, अपने social cognition, अपने attitudes, अपने impression formation के बारे में समझूंगी, that is my psychological social psychology. लेकिन अगर मैं ये देखती हूँ कि मेरा बिहेवियर स्टूडेंट्स, कोलीग्स, पेरेंट्स, सिबलिंग्स इसके तरफ कैसा है, एक इंटरपर्सनल लेवल पे मेरा बिहेवियर कैसा है, वो एक सोशियोलॉजिकल सोशल साइकोलॉजी आ जाएगा. So it emphasizes the determining function of social systems, institutions, groups of for individual behavior. तो बेसिकली सोशोलॉजिकल को थोड़ा एक मैक्रो लेवल पे समझा जाता है, ना कि सिर्फ एक इंडिविजुअल बल्कि पूरी सोसाइटी की फंक्शनिंग में. हर इंडिविजुअल गिन गिन के एक सोसाइटी बनाता है, एक अपना फंक्शनिंग बनाता है. तो कोई सोसाइटी तभी सस्टेन हो पा रही है जब उसके कुछ नॉर्म्स हैं. हर इंडिविजुअल अलग बिहेवियर नहीं दिखा सकता इतना. कुछ तो नॉर्म्स है, कुछ तो रूल्स है जो सबको बाइंड करके रख रहा है. उस लेवल पे एक ह्यूमन सोशल बिहेवियर को समझना सोशियोलॉजिकल सोशल साइकोलॉजी कहा जा रहा है. So this approach derived from the belief that theory of society should be starting point of social psychological theorizing. कि सोसाइटी किस तरह से फंक्शन कर रही है, उसी के बेस पे हमारा बिहेवियर किस तरह से बना है, किस तरह से इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ है, वो आपका सोशियोलॉजिकल सोशल साइकोलॉजी कहा जाएगा. एंड अर्लियर सोशल साइकोलॉजी वाज टू इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक कि बस एक ही हिसाब से एक ही डायरेक्शन में चल रहा है. बट इवेंचुअली वी हैड अंडरस्टूड this perspective from not just Western but also Eastern perspective. And also in sociological psychology, we are trying to understand the theoretical analysis, the empirical analysis of relations between what individual has with the other people around himself. Yes, Divya, any other queries? धीरज, प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम का तो हमने आपको जो क्लास में पीसीबी क्लास में पढ़ाया था उसी तरह से आपको समझना है. आपकी कोई वैसे क्लासरूम में एक्सपेरिमेंट्स नहीं होंगे, कोई ऐसा क्लासरूम में असेसमेंट नहीं होगा, आपको फाइल नहीं बनानी है. आप अपनी थ्योरी को अच्छी तरह से पढ़ लें, एसएलएम की थ्योरी को, और जो प्रैक्टिकल किया था उसके बारे में भी ढंग से पढ़ लें कि जैसे उस प्रैक्टिकल का किस तरह का रिलायबिलिटी है, टाइप ऑफ रिलायबिलिटी, टाइप ऑफ वैलिडिटी, नंबर ऑफ आइटम्स इन दैट टेस्ट, व्हाई दैट टेस्ट, हु मेड दैट टेस्ट. आपको उस टेस्ट के बारे में अच्छी तरह से सब पता होना चाहिए. चाहे आप गूगल करके देख लीजिए किस एज ग्रुप पे वो टेस्ट है, किस कल्चर के लिए वो टेस्ट है, ये सब आपको अच्छी तरह से पता होना चाहिए फॉर क्रैकिंग द प्रैक्टिकल इंटरनल असेसमेंट. Divya, was I able to explain? Is that your query? आपको समझ में आ गया दिव्या? Okay. So the leftover topic we will do tomorrow, and your tomorrow's class is scheduled for 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. तो आपके दो स्लॉट्स में कल की रिवीजन क्लास होगी. एंड प्लीज आई रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू स्प्रेड दिस वर्ड कि और ज्यादा लोग आए, उनकी भी रिवीजन में हेल्प हो जाएगी. टुडे द स्ट्रेंथ वाज स्टिल लिटिल लेस. आई एक्सपेक्ट मोर पीपल. All right. Thank you, everyone. So let's meet on Microsoft Teams tomorrow at 1 p.m.